Good evening. Welcome to Global Watch. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates tonight. We're witnessing a transformation in global travel and commerce, one visible in the empty corridors of American airports. International travelers are bypassing the U.S., taking their business and tourism dollars elsewhere, a direct result of seismic policy shifts from Washington. Cities like Toronto, Dubai, and Singapore are thriving as new global crossroads, while America grows more isolated and expensive. This isn't just about tariffs, it's about perception, politics, and the choices of millions, impacting everything from groceries in Ohio to tech giants in Silicon Valley. Stay with us as we unpack how America First policies are, for many, making America last. In early 2025, President Trump returned to the White House, marking a significant shift in U.S. economic policy. His re-election was seen as a mandate to revive his aggressive trade strategies. He quickly reinstated his signature tariffs, launching a new era of economic warfare that would ripple across the globe. The business community braced for impact as the administration signaled more aggressive measures. On April 2nd, dubbed Liberation Day, a sweeping 10% tariff on all imports was announced. This move escalated trade disputes with both allies and rivals, creating a tense international atmosphere. The U.S.-Canada relationship soured rapidly. Tariffs on Canadian goods soared to 35% by July, with threats of even harsher measures looming. This strained the historically strong economic ties between the two nations. Simultaneously, tariffs on Chinese imports peaked at an astonishing 145% before settling at 30% after tense negotiations. The high tariffs disrupted supply chains and increased costs for American consumers. Meanwhile, the European Union narrowly avoided a 30% tariff rate, landing at 15% after intense diplomatic efforts. This compromise, however, did little to ease the overall tension in transatlantic trade. Legal battles raged across the country. Courts briefly blocked some tariffs, but higher courts eventually allowed them to continue. This left businesses in a state of limbo, uncertain about future regulations. The result was chaos in global supply chains. Empty warehouse shelves became a common sight, and businesses struggled to adapt to the rapidly changing trade environment. Uncertainty loomed large for American partners. Old alliances offered little protection. No country was exempt from the new American trade doctrine, which prioritized national interests over global cooperation. Diplomatic relations were strained as countries scrambled to respond. The global economic order was upended in a matter of months. Markets crashed, currencies fluctuated wildly, and economic indicators shifted dramatically. The world was left to navigate a new, uncertain economic landscape. The fallout from tariffs is hitting U.S. aviation hard. International travel to the U.S. is projected to drop by over 22% this year. A free fall, not a dip. Summer bookings between the U.S. and Canada have collapsed by 70%, turning once busy terminals into ghost towns. The cause: tariffs, political friction, and a growing sense that America is no longer a welcoming destination. Cross-border vehicle traffic in northern New York is down 23% as Canadians stay home, citing safety and political concerns. International travelers are voting with their wallets, seeking stability and warmth elsewhere. The empty gates and vacant hotels are the direct result of this dramatic shift in perception. In Canada, the response to U.S. tariffs has become a nationwide boycott of American goods and travel. What began as a reaction to new trade policies has quickly grown into a powerful movement, uniting Canadians from coast to coast. The impact is visible everywhere, from empty airport terminals in the U.S. to quiet border crossings that once bustled with activity. Canadians are keeping their money at home, driven by a mix of national pride and deep frustration with their southern neighbor. Across the country, people are making conscious choices to support local businesses and products, seeing every purchase as a small but meaningful act of resistance. Grocery chains like Loblaws now highlight Canadian-made products, turning shopping into a quiet act of protest. Store aisles are filled with red maple leaf tags, and shoppers are more aware than ever of where their goods come from. This shift is not just about economics, it's about sending a message. Domestic tourism is booming, with flights within Canada up 6% and national parks packed. Families are choosing to explore their own backyard, discovering the beauty and diversity of their homeland. Hotels, resorts, and local attractions are seeing record numbers as Canadians invest in their own communities. Billions once spent in the U.S. are now fueling Canadian businesses and a renewed sense of national identity. Small businesses, in particular, are thriving as more people choose to shop local. The economic ripple effect is strengthening communities and creating new opportunities across the country. The boycott is more than economic. It's a cultural statement, fracturing a relationship once defined by openness. Festivals and public events now celebrate Canadian heritage with renewed enthusiasm, while symbols of cross-border friendship are quietly disappearing. Many Canadians now see the U.S. as unpredictable and even hostile, prompting them to look elsewhere for vacations, business partnerships, and cultural exchanges. Travel agencies report a surge in interest for destinations in Europe, Asia, and within Canada itself. The era of easy cross-border exchange has ended, replaced by caution and self-reliance. For many, this moment marks a turning point, a chance to redefine what it means to be Canadian, and to chart a new course forward, independent of old alliances. The tariff war's casualties are most visible in U.S. border towns like Ogdensburg, New York. Toll revenue on the Ogdensburg International Bridge has plunged 30%, stalling critical infrastructure projects. Local businesses, gas stations, are suffering as Canadian customers vanish. Local businesses, restaurants, are suffering as Canadian customers vanish. Local businesses, shops, are suffering as Canadian customers vanish. Welcome Canadian signs can't reverse the damage. The boycott runs deeper than hospitality. Higher prices on imported goods mean less disposable income for locals, compounding the pain. From Washington state to Maine, communities once thriving on cross-border commerce are now struggling to survive. National policy has severed the local ties that bound these towns to their Canadian neighbors. These forgotten victims face an uncertain future, held hostage by decisions made far from home. As America closes its doors, global travelers and businesses are finding new gateways. Toronto, Dubai, and Singapore are thriving as stable, welcoming hubs for commerce and tourism. Toronto's proximity and multiculturalism make it a prime alternative for those avoiding U.S. entry hassles. International conferences and vacations once destined for New York or Chicago now land in Toronto. Dubai and Singapore, with their strategic locations and open policies, are cementing their roles as global megahubs. Their success is no accident. It's the result of decades of investment and a commitment to global engagement. As the U.S. retreats, these cities are stepping up, becoming the new essential nodes in global trade and travel. The 2022 Onois and Dachin 25, Wadzechin Bamberdori, to 40 tariffs are sending shockwaves through the global economy, especially in the technology sector, where interconnected supply chains are feeling the strain. The ripple effects are being felt far beyond boardrooms and factories, touching the lives of everyday people around the world. U.S. tech giants, long dependent on intricate global supply chains, now face soaring costs for critical components. This surge in expenses is forcing companies to raise prices, not just for businesses, but for everyday consumers as well. The cost of smartphones, laptops, and other electronics is climbing, making it harder for families to afford the latest technology. In response, companies like Apple and Nvidia are pouring billions into expanding U.S. manufacturing. Yet despite these massive investments, a complete break from Asian suppliers remains out of reach. The global tech ecosystem is simply too intertwined, and true decoupling is a distant goal. The auto industry is also reeling, especially electric vehicle makers who rely on foreign parts. Tariffs are driving up costs, slowing production, and threatening the momentum of the green transition. Consumers hoping to buy electric cars now face higher prices and longer wait times. Financial markets are rattled. The Nasdaq has plunged by 2,000 points, reflecting investor anxiety, while gold prices have soared to record highs as people seek safe havens for their money. The impact doesn't stop there. Hotels, airlines, and cruise lines are grappling with higher operating costs, which they're passing on to travelers. As a result, vacations are becoming more expensive and many families are rethinking their travel plans. Even everyday goods are more expensive, from groceries to household essentials. This is squeezing consumer budgets, leaving less money for discretionary spending and non-essentials. The result is a vicious cycle. Rising costs lead to falling travel and spending, which in turn batters the U.S. tourism industry. As the effects of the tariffs ripple outward, the economic pain is being felt in every corner of American life. Experts agree, these are uncharted waters. The U.S. Tour Operators Association warns that tariffs at these levels haven't been seen in a century, and the long-term effects are unknown. Industry leaders like Terry Dale predicted a backlash, and it's come true. Foreigners now see the U.S. as insular and hostile. Surveys show 59% of travelers worry about anti-American sentiment abroad, keeping many at home. Border town officials like Anthony Adamczyk describe a double whammy of lost traffic and frozen infrastructure. Some Canadians blame their own government for not negotiating better, revealing complex feelings on both sides. The blame game is in full swing as old alliances fray and local communities bear the brunt. The uncertainty is unsettling, and the fallout is far from over. We've seen empty airports, fractured borders, and the rise of new global hubs. The Trump administration's tariffs have triggered unintended consequences. A Canadian boycott crippled border towns and a global shift away from the U.S. The economic and social costs are mounting from tech supply chain chaos to rising consumer prices. But the greatest loss may be America's global standing, its reputation as a welcoming, reliable partner. As Toronto, Dubai, and Singapore fill the void, the future remains uncertain. The world is changing fast, and understanding these shifts is crucial for navigating what comes next. For all of us at 360, thanks for watching.